Investor's Edge with Gary Kaltbaum. Straight talk about you and your money. Now from the BizTalk studios, here is Gary Kaltbaum.
And welcome once again to Investor's Edge. I'm Gary Kaltbaum, your host. Hey, thanks for being with us today. Glad you're here, ladies and gentlemen. Happy that you are listening. It's May 2nd. Am I right? Yes, I'm right. 2024, and it's Thursday. Hope you're having a good day. As always, in the allotted amount of time that we have a lot to cover. Logically, without no bias, no agenda, no ulterior motive, we will do the markets and tell you what we think. Avoid good, bad, indifferent, emerging, submerging, tops, bottoms, leadership, ascending, descending. We'll cover it all as they show up. And I got a few things that we're going to be covering today that should be of interest. We're going to do the economy, the Fed, the universities, and much, much more as we go through the show. And man, oh man, there's just so much going on. But first, if you do not get this show in your city, we'll post it at GaryK.com. We'll also post it on our Twitter feed, which is now X. And if you don't follow us on X, you should go to X and you should follow us. You should also, if you email us, you just want to be nice. I haven't had anybody tell me I sucked in 2 weeks. We feel better about that. Anyway, some things we are finding out. Just some things we are finding out. And I think a lot of you in some big cities around the country already know about this. It seems that the traveling anarchists, and you can look up what that means and what they are. It seems the traveling anarchists are now showing up at these colleges. And I must tell you, and to their credit, they're very organized. Wow. We are also finding out, I know they use the word agitators, I use the word ass clowns. There are people, believe it or not, that get paid to produce protests. Well, at least they're calling them protests. We're also finding out, and just so you know, this is some first-hand stuff, not from me, but from people, I guess that makes it third-hand, that a lot of these students have no idea what the hell's going on, that are doing what they're doing. No, really. A lot of them don't have a damn clue. They can't answer questions about the things that they are yelling and screaming about. They tell you to go speak to that person there, media relations. They're idiots. And here's the unfortunate part. You join a cult, you do stupid things, you're going to pay the penalty. I know that there's a hell of a lot of suspensions, but we're going to hear about a lot of expulsions. Imagine students supposed to go to college to learn, get involved with utter stupidity, and are now going to get expelled, going to be on their records, and then what? And of course, others have been arrested for burglary, harm, hurt, whatever you want to call it. UCLA, the people running UCLA should be fired immediately. That's the other part about it. The only places you are never fired, even if you fail miserably, is government, university jobs. I mean, they got rid of 2 of them only because of pressure. And we're amazed how these people have jobs is beyond us. We are also finding out, amazingly, these teachers. Just a bunch of freaking anti-Semite racists. We're finding out at UCLA they're teaching anti-Semitic classes. Go look this up. They're teaching classes that if you are white, you suck. No, go look this up. Don't believe me. I'm just a voice on the radio. So we're getting a feel for where the kids are learning from. And of course, a bunch of these, they call them faculty, have been out with the craze. It's quieted down a little bit, but I expect that not to last. I have a memo for you Democrats out there. And again, we respect each and every one of you. If you hate Trump or love Trump, hate Biden or love Biden, we really do. We really do. Because if I love somebody, why should I be mad that you love somebody different in politics? And of course, I love nobody. I think they all are terrible. The supposed friends of Biden were yelling F Joe Biden today, where he kind of was. Now, Joe Biden finally came out of his cushy lair, and he's out today. Anti-Semitism is bad. But also he came out and said Islamophobia is bad. He can't help himself. The big issue in this country right now is anti-Semitism, and you got to go both ways. And by the way, anybody who's an Islamophobe is a clown also. You know what we think about any racism. So Joe Biden finally shows up at the scene of the crime days after, and don't forget, he's the president. Chuck Schumer from New York still hasn't shown up, and he's Jewish too. So miserable failures on many fronts, and it's time to segue. We ask of you, each and every one of you, to remember a couple of things. And this is not a religious statement, this is a statement. You should respect anyone and everyone, from any race, creed, color, gender, denomination, height, weight. Does not matter. You should respect the janitor as much as the CEO, the busboy as well as the owner of the restaurant. There's nothing better than you making somebody else feel important. And I think many have forgotten that. The reason why I am so about this, because I wanted to make sure that I was somebody, and the things I do that my kids watched and saw. I can safely say my sons have never made fun of anyone from any race, creed, color. Poor, rich, wealthy, middle class, did not matter. And that's the way everybody should be. And you know what the good news is? I really do believe most of us are. The bad news is the ones that aren't are getting the headlines. And when I tell you, you see all these, whatever you want to call these things, and it looks like there's a lot of people, it's still a very, 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 very small percentage. But they get the headlines. It's how it works. I think we should laugh at them. And they're going to have to live with themselves. The interesting thing is a lot of people are losing a lot of jobs. There are Twitter feeds that are just locating people that are involved with all this, and then they're tweeting to the companies these people work for, and they're getting fired left and right. And you know what? It's earned. Okay, now we segue. Hope you're having a good day. I do believe we'll segue to do the... Let me just make sure, because this is the most important thing of my day today. I did not, believe it, I've been so busy today, I did not check. Yes, the Knicks play tonight at 9 p.m. in Philadelphia, Game 6. That's my important day. Is that okay? Apple usually reports at 4:30 p.m. It's 4:11. We'll be able to, towards the close of the show as we pre-tape now, and we have a lot to discuss up next about regions of the world. I'm Gary. This is the one and only Investor's Edge.
Hi, I'm Gary Kaltbaum, host of the nationally syndicated radio show Investor's Edge. We're not just handsome radio people. We manage investors' money for a living, specializing in fee-based discretionary money management. No big commissions, just a fee on the assets that's managed. We also provide a full range of personalized services, including retirement planning, fixed income, and educational needs, all to assist you in achieving your financial goals. Understanding not all individuals have the same needs, we'll carefully evaluate your personal goals to determine a proper investment strategy. If your current approach to investing is not getting you to where you would like to be, call us to make an appointment for a complimentary portfolio review. The number to call is 888-422-5559. That's 888-422-5559. That's 888-422-5559. Investment advisory services offered through Kaltbaum Capital Management.
It's time to switch on the integrator units and get the brain cells working.
You're listening to...
Hey, this promises to be fun.
Investor's Edge.
The last bastion of quality programming.
With Gary Kaltbaum.
It doesn't get better than this.
So as I said, we pre-taped the show around 4 p.m. Eastern Time. Apple usually comes out at 4:30. That will be it for all the big mega cap tech once Apple comes out. Let me be descriptive. Amazon reacted well to earnings, but has really done not much. It's range bound, was up almost 6 today. Better day in the market. We'll explain why. Well, the reason why we're up today is because we got trashed for 500 points at the close yesterday, but there's more than that going on. Google gapped up very nicely on earnings, been filling the gap lately, was up almost 3 today, but has some work to do. NVIDIA was up 27 today, sitting in and around the 50-day moving average right now, but has done nothing since March 8th, and that's okay. Qualcomm gapped up today, finished up over $15. That's into new high ground. The numbers weren't the greatest on earth, up 10% or 12%, but reaction's everything. Broadcom under pressure under the 50-day. Advanced Micro Devices has been trashed. We're waiting on Apple. Booking Holdings were just reported after the close, and I got it up about 8% in the aftermarket. Good move. Costco trying. Sitting right near the 50-day. Salesforce.com just got trashed to the downside and has stopped going down, at least. We'll give it that. Facebook just got gapped and trashed to the downside, but has stopped going down. We'll see if it continues. Microsoft, the big disappointment, gapped up on earnings. That same day, came in pretty decently. Then another down day, then got trashed. Bouncing a little bit here, but underneath big-time resistance. Netflix gaps down, but getting defended. What do we mean by that? We said that a few times on some big names. Well, let's say a stock's 400 and it opens the next day at 360 because of earnings. But then instead of keep it going down and down and down, it goes from 360 to 365, back to 360, back to 365, that's what we mean by getting defended. And of course, if it breaks the 360, that's another story. Tesla gapped up on some whatever reason. Maybe it's just the fact that it's sold out. I don't know, but Musk said this, Musk said that. and it's better, but it's still below the 50-day. Volume patterns for the first time in a long time are better in Tesla, but it's got a lot of work to do, and they have serious demand issues. SAP, an important software stock, gaps up, but just in the midst of resistance. Oracle had a big gap up weeks and weeks ago and did nothing but get trashed since. That's all the big cap names. Some of the semiconductors recently, the equipment makers, ASML, KLAC, AMAT, and LRCX all broke the 50-day and have stopped going down because, the market's trying to do a little bit better here. We'll see. But just the best way I can explain it to you, big cap tech for the most part has a lot of work to do going forward. Apple, expectations are for another 3% drop in sales. They've been dropping in sales, and this is year over year, because of seasonality, you do year over year, and that needs to change in order to stock get going. I don't know if you know this. The stock is trading where it was December of 2021, which is not the end of the world. We've seen this before. It's also down from the high. I think it was near 200. It's 173. Not a big deal drop, but just not much going on. They're going to have to show, hey, expectations for -3. Oh, sales are up 3, which is not great, but better, and hopefully improvement. Issues they have, China. We've been hearing all along that China's been trying to go to their own China type named phones, and so there's been less and less of Apple. What else? The upgrades. As I have told you, and I'm just everyday man, I haven't gotten a new iPhone in 3 iPhones. And I used to get, every time an iPhone came out, I was pretty much the next and the next and the next. And the reason is because the new iPhones, there's really no difference. And price. And I think a lot of that's going on. So there's got to be something better. Now they're going to go toward, I gather they're going to announce some AI crap today. But they're going to have to show, oh, we got AI, but this is why you got to trade up. Remember when we went to the 5, the from the whatever to the 5, it was supposed to be a big upgrade, and it wasn't. The 5Gs. It was okay, nothing special. So just letting you know, we'll see how Apple comes out. I am agnostic. I don't own the stock. But I do believe in Warren Buffett, and he still has a ton of the stock. And that's that. So in the midst of earnings, we'll see what comes out throughout the show. I see Amgen down about is getting hit in the Dow. Let's see how much. And no big deal, $6. Whoopee-doo. But China. Emerging markets. There's a grouping of emerging markets. For weeks, we have been telling our peeps and telling you, hey, China's got this little bottoming process going on. But a couple of things. Number one, how do you trust? Number two, some of the movement has to do with the government coming out and saying we're buying the crap out of our own stock market. And as it broke above resistance off the bottom, it pulled back and held, pulled back and held, pulled back and held, and then recently broke a little bit above range. Today, really confirmed from a bottoming process to, notice my word, potential, nothing's baked in the cake, advancing stage. The ETFs for China are FXI. The higher octane ETFs are KWEB, CWEB. We're not telling you to buy, sell, short, or cover. We're just letting you know you had a real nice high volume advancing move today. Above a little bit more resistance with some important names doing the same like Alibaba, Baidu, and others that you may or may not have heard of. So just letting you know. And as that started happening, we told our peeps I think it's going to be really tough to break the recent lows of the market if all of a sudden China and emerging markets are going to start advancing. I think the Dow was up 150, the NASDAQ was up about 100 at the time. And that's a bounce from yesterday's trashing in the last hour, as well as the 500-point drop right before that. Well, we finished up 322 on the Dow, 235 on the NASDAQ, 222 on the NASDAQ 100. So all major indices are still below the 50-day moving average. So there's a bunch more work to do, but a start. Up next, what else? Thanks for being here. I'm Gary. This is the one and only Investor's Edge.
Listening to
America is talking.
Investor's Edge.
He's got to be pleased with that. The crowd is just on its feet here. He's a Cinderella boy.
With Gary Kaltbaum.
Comes highly recommended. You're going to feel better if you talk to him.
And welcome once again to Investor's Edge. Every time Apple's about to announce earnings, I get asked, so what do you think? And every time I say it'll gap up. I just say it every time, no matter what. So there's no edge whatsoever. And I got to tell you, amazingly, a few times it's gapped down. And we'll see what happens. I have no idea. I have no edge to it. They're very good at sandbagging their numbers and then beating. And it is an important number. It's number 2 in size to Microsoft. And as we said, very weird action in Microsoft. But hey, I don't write the rules of the game. Small caps had another good day today, and I'm so tired of them. I've tried these small caps a couple of times in the recent past, and they just nothing. And of course, when I don't own them, probably they'll make a good move. They've just underperformed for a very long time. I gather they will eventually have their day in the sun. Just letting you know they had a good day today. Good advance decline today. And again, the Asia, not Japan. Japan's been laboring recently, but China. And there's something called the EEM, which is just an emerging markets ETF. That sucker's moving into new high ground. In the near term, outstripping our butts. We'll see how it goes. Transports that have been weak as all hell were up strong today, a little more than 2%, but skewed a little bit. What do I mean by that? There is one stock, Avis Budget, CAR, and it's just something happened back in 21. I don't know whether they did a split or not or something, but it really skewed. And if you look at the IYT, which is an ETF versus the transports, there's a big difference. So when Avis has a great day, the transports, and Avis was up $19 today on earnings, keep in mind, and it was up 20%. The stock was $245 10 months ago. It closed at $114 today. But just a few others. C.H. Robinson was up 7 today. And just bounces in a lot of things that have been trashed. I wouldn't give it too much. The financials, some of the big banks continue to be in decent stead. Nothing exciting, nothing, ripping to the upside. But still, and just so you know, I am so good now at scanning. I was able to scan from the highest volume stock down to 500,000, trading 500,000 a day. And I'll do more later because we do lower price too, lower volume names also. There's still just not a lot of leadership and just a very narrow list of names that are above the moving averages. The good news is when we see the low, they're going to start popping out left and right. And as I mentioned, Qualcomm, very good reaction. Qualcomm, good reaction today. Amazon is not busted out, but had a good reaction. And you can tell it's acting decently. If it decides to bust out, we'll be in it. NVIDIA, I just think they're not ready yet. And whether it goes again or not, don't know. But NVIDIA and a bunch of semis look like they got some time after doing whatever they did. And as you know, the 505 was the breakout. We knocked it out at 850. By the way, it closed at 858. We knocked it out, I think, right around 850. Watched it go to 960. Was PO'd that day. Not as much as PO'd right now. Next up, as we await Apple, which should be in just a couple of minutes. So, we don't even like boring ourselves thinking about the central bank or even talking about them. But we just want to explain when we say that they are now easing monetary policy again, when all you keep hearing is that they did not lower rates yesterday. So there's a couple of ways the Fed does their thing. Number one, by lowering their Fed funds rate. And we have told you, go look up what Fed funds rate means, what exactly it is. It's interbank lending and all kinds of crap. To us, the big thing is the free market. We always talk about the 10-year yield. But they can move things around by moving up and down Fed funds. But what else they have done in the past is they have printed money. It started with Bernanke, who promised. Bernanke said it was only going to be for a while. We're only going to print money for a while. And he lied. And they realized, oh boy, this helps markets and makes us look good. So they kept it going. And then Powell did his thing and printed to $9 trillion, which he took that money, just so you know what he did. He took that money and bought the hell out of the bond market, bought up the treasuries, got interest rates down, took the rates down to zero. That's when you were getting screwed on your money markets. And what happened was it caused the inflation. Wall Street keeps blaming everybody else on that, but we say it was him. And so he prints the $9 trillion. Inflation comes. They miss the inflation. What do we do? What do we do? How do we do it? Oh my God! So guess what they had to do? They had to drain. So how do they drain? Well, they bought all these bonds that, by the way, they lost a ton of money on. Remember that. They lost a ton of money on. They bought all these bonds. They have $9 trillion of them. They started letting them run off. What does that mean? Well, they mature. All bonds mature. So if you have $9 trillion and $1 trillion matures, you have $8 trillion. But also what that does is it takes money out of the system. Simple as that. And it has this effect, supposedly, of hurting the economy. Remember, they think they are the economy. We are the economy. I digress. They were doing about $60 billion a month. $60 billion a month. And they just changed it to $25 billion. And that has that's just easing monetary policy, an easing effect. And that's what they did yesterday. And that's why, for now, rates are coming down. Best way to explain it. If you're not sure what I mean by it, look up quantitative tightening, quantitative easing. It'll give you a very good understanding of exactly of what I am talking about. That's all. We wish they be abolished. We still have not figured out why we need them. We don't think they do anything for anybody. We think we are the economy, but they're here to stay. If we were the President of the United States, we would do everything in our power to end them. I didn't say kill them, end them. Simple as that. Because nobody's been able to explain to us why they even exist. We can get along so well without them. So well without them. Big time well without them. And that's that. Apple. The numbers were blah. And I mean blah. They beat estimates by only 2 cents. $1.53 versus $1.51 estimate. That $1.53 was against last year's $1.52. Not making this up. So they had 0% earnings growth. Up next. What's it doing? In real time. I'm Gary. This is the one and only Investor's Edge.
You're listening to
What are we waiting for?
Well, what are you waiting for?
1, 2, ready, go.
Action!
Investor's Edge with Gary Kaltbaum.
So, are you ready? And we don't know what's doing and whatever, but Apple closed at 173. It is 180 in the aftermarket as I speak. It's up $7. As of this second, that can change. That's $100 billion of market cap, even though, and we're just telling you facts, earnings were flat year over year. No growth. Sales, they beat estimates. Expectations were $90 billion, $370 million. They did $90,750,000,000 versus last year's 94.8. So sales were down 3 to 4%, 3.5. So earnings flat, sales down 3.5. The stock is jamming a little bit. My guess, I have no idea. My thought, they're probably yelling and screaming artificial intelligence or something like that. iPhone revenue was less than estimates and way down from last year. Not making this up. Last year, iPhone revenue for the quarter was $51.3 billion. This year, they did $44.96 versus estimates, which they didn't even meet, of $46.4. The stock is getting jammed on what I consider to be bleh. Don't see any other news that's jamming the stock. We'll get more in the next hour. But it's still moving as I speak. It's now up 11 for the day. It was up 4 early during the day. And let's see, 180 in the aftermarket. Okay. We'll see how it goes. And of course, helping the NASDAQ futures it is as it is the number 2 weighting in the NASDAQ 100, and I think probably the number 2 weighting in the S&P. These numbers can change, but another nothing quarter out of Apple, if I'm reading it right. And I'm pretty good at reading these things. And again, things can change. So that is the story. What else happened today? Crypto bounced, trading below the 50-day moving average. I heard, and I wish I was making this up. Well, let me backtrack a second here. As you know, we take on nobody in the industry. As you know. A very long time ago, we used to get pissed off at a certain somebody on that certain channel that's still on air. And I got an email from somebody, Gary, that's just not right. It belittles you. And I listened back to myself as I was kind of putting them down. I said, why am I doing that? So I stopped. And I never talk about anybody in the industry ever except Paul Tudor Jones, the greats. But as of recent, we've been talking about Cathie Wood, the ARK funds, and that's only because we've received hundreds of emails. And she dropped 75, 80% in the bear market and is still down 65% from 3 years ago, yet she keeps being asked her opinion. But my bigger issue is, well, Bitcoin's going to be $1 million by 2030. 6 years, $1 million. So she's trying to tell us that it's going to be up 20. What is Bitcoin now? Let's use 60,000, even though it's like, I think 56, 57. She's saying it's going to be up 30 some odd times in 6 years, which is insane. And we're not even making a call on Bitcoin. Well, she came out and said she thinks it can go to 3 million. And we're just letting you know that pisses us off. And we would tell it to her face. I would just say to her, do you know, people listen to what you say. You do know you're down 65% in the last 3 years, and even though you say you love your process, it hasn't worked. You do know you could provide some influence, and don't you think you have any responsibility in providing and having some influence and maybe, thinking about your verbiage? That's what I'd be saying to her. Nothing personal. Don't know her. I hope she does great. I wish her well. I don't want anybody losing money anywhere. But just letting you know, I heard she updated. She says 3 million now. I don't know if she gave a date. And it just letting you know it pisses us off. Everything I try to do here is about first protection of capital. And she just unwinds it. Because what if Bitcoin goes to 1,000? You do know there's no earnings and sales. You do know it's just people buying at a price. You do know it has no function. You do know they said it had a function. We're going to be buying things with it left and right, up and down, all around. And you do know that stopped quickly on the first big drop, because if somebody sells a car to you and you're giving them Bitcoin and the car has a 3% margin and the Bitcoin drops 10%, well, they're losing their butts and they're going to go out of business. So just letting you know. And we take no joy. We take zero joy in this. But when it comes up, we must bring it up. And that is that. Apple's been trading, by the way, it's been trading $30 billion up and down. It's now up about 7 and change in the aftermarket on these crappy numbers. And when I say crappy, just no growth. and we'll look to see why. I don't know what they have said. I don't see guidance as of yet. Maybe they're given better guidance. I haven't seen that yet. Anyway, have a great evening. Drive carefully. Good day in the market. Maybe better tomorrow with Apple. Should be on with Neil Cavuto tomorrow. Noon hour, Fox Business Network. Check that out. Until tomorrow, have a great evening. Drive carefully. And when you get home, do like we do. Quite simple. Make sure you hug your family. Make sure you hug your children. They will feel better. You will feel better. I promise. Take care, all. Thanks for joining. Stay well. Bye-bye.
This has been Investor's Edge with Gary Kaltbaum on BizTalk. To listen to past episodes or to get in contact with Gary, go to GaryK.com. That's GaryK.com.